Hello, I'm RedDeathMask. What up, everybody? We are here today to check out some more horror, Creepcast fan horror, new horror, um horror not published through conventional methods, but still very good. It won't be a super long stream today. It'll probably be relatively short, but I'm gonna try to, get through a few stories. Regardless, here we're gonna listen to some Cask while we get ready here. But yeah, so on the agenda today, essentially, is what up, Creepin'? Yeah, your story's second up. The Cry of the Fox from Professor Creepin' or Noboat 9770. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna finish. There is a massive man with a giant shotgun at my summer camp. I didn't realize. I basically read almost the whole story. There's just a little bit left, so I felt kind of bad that I read as much as I did and then didn't finish it. So yeah, and then I'm gonna read yours up after that. I'm gonna finish the Obese Man with the shotgun one, and then we're gonna read the Cry of the Fox. And then last but certainly not least, the Succubus I summoned is Defective from VerdantVoidling, who's a new author that I got in contact on Discord, and yeah, here I'm still. Anyways, I still just I want it to be like background music, but to turn it as low as I need it to be for it to be background, I can't even hear it anymore, so. Anyways, doesn't really matter, because we're not gonna listen to much more. Here, we'll just pause it anyways. Works better for background music or for like Hours by Max Anson anyways. I was just gonna try to play. I've listened to a few of Hunter's songs that he's been putting out, and they've been pretty good. I'm not a huge like metal fan. I do like, I was a fan of like screamo and stuff in high school, and so but I do like his music. I like the what is it, like a Grave Digger or whatever song. That song is pretty good. I like that one. And I like that they all, I mean, most metal is horror themed anyways, but he seems to be, using his music as a sort of a horror outlet, because it seems like more than a few of the songs are, strictly horror based. Like even this one, Alimony's, about like a guy who wants to kill his ex-wife or something like that. But it's good stuff. It's pretty fun. It's fun. Divorced dad rock, unhinged is a fun style of music to be a part of, because it's just unapologetically like cringe and self-indulgent, but also at the same time, I think we all have those songs that maybe when we get older we're like, oh, it's kind of lame or whatever, but to us they still speak to a younger, more emotional part of ourselves that we just, so they stick with us. Yeah, and he's a great singer. I've always found it. One second. I've always found it so funny that horror or that Hunter that he was a big metal fan, his dad was a big metal fan, and he told his dad like when he was a little kid, he told his dad that like, "Oh, I want to be we're going to start a band." You know, like kids do, like before you really even play an instrument, but you just tell like your family that like, "Oh, I want to start a band." And Hunter told his dad this, and he's like, "Well, what's your band's name?" And they were all like, he and his 10-year-old friends were talking, and they thought Royal Flush sounded cool, which granted it's a bit of a like kid band name, but it's not the worst name ever. So Hunter tells his dad this, and then like 3 months later, and then of course forgets about it, and like his dad didn't really mention it again or whatever. But then 3 months later they're going to like a Metallica show, and then all of a sudden Hunter's dad is like giggling, and he's like, "Oh hell yeah, I forgot about this." Hunter's dad put on a t-shirt that said, "I support the Royal Flush," and then the whole time at the concert was like talking to everyone, being like, "Yeah, my son's in a band. They're gonna be pretty big." And I don't know, like, obviously, I'm telling this story secondhand. I heard it on a podcast that Hunter was on, but the whole idea that like I don't know if his dad was trying to embarrass him, but that's the effect that it had. Maybe his dad was trying to be supportive in his own way. I don't know, but essentially, his dad in that moment, like it sounds like, at least from the way Hunter talks about it, like shamed him into never wanting to even attempt to make music after that. Like, and what's funny is Hunter's like such a great singer. He's like he is a very he can carry a tune, and he can imitate a lot of other singers really well. And so it's so funny because I've always like once I heard that story, I was like, wow, is that the only reason we have Meat Canyon? Because Hunter's dad like shamed him out of making music, and instead we would have had like, another Metallica or another like, I don't know, name some other great metal band like Slipknot, whatever. So, and could his life have taken a completely different direction where he was like still a popular musician or whatever, but completely different? And yeah, it's just an interesting story because for him it's like he never stopped loving metal, but it just completely made him like, oh, my dream, like maybe not my dream is stupid, but like the whole idea of like when you're a kid and just believing that whatever thing you're into at that specific moment could be like your career, and just having that completely thrown in your face in like a really public whatever way is just, I don't know, I find it kind of an interesting story because it's like obviously he still did so well for himself, but then at the same time, like got kind of his naive dreams dashed, you know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things where yeah, you wonder for the artists and the people that do make it, you wonder what critical moments in their life did like people either support them or maybe not support them, but then they like just persevered through that. You know what I mean? I'm always curious about that. I always like to hear stories about before people have made it, so to speak, and like a moment when either they succeeded or failed, in like a kind of a big or public way. I always find that really interesting. But yeah, so I've always wanted and it would be fucked up now, but if they ever played a cask show, like like if they ever just played a live show, Hunter's band now, I would want to make a T-shirt that says "I support the Royal Flush" and wear it, and like wear that T-shirt to a metal show that he's actually playing. And I think it would be kind of this funny, like, full circle moment, where it's like, yeah, I actually do support the Royal Flush. Anyways, sorry, that was a tangent, but I think it's important to know that, like, my love of Creepcast, a lot of it just comes from I find Hunter so entertaining, and I watched him on Stretch and Fade for so long, and I loved Stretch and Fade, even when it was kind of petering out. And had it not been for Stretch and Fade kind of fading out and Creepcast picking up, like, the only reason I'm pretty sure I watched Creepcast in the beginning was because Hunter was on it, and I was like, well, if Stretch and Fade is stopping, I still want to hear Hunter on a podcast, so I guess I'll have to listen to this one. And then, it turns out being one of my favorite podcasts ever. But yeah, I wish him and Noel would still collaborate in some way. I really liked them together. I thought they were such an interesting duo and dynamic. They're so opposite in so many ways that I found it really interesting, the Noel and Hunter dynamic. Hunter's such like a country boy, whatever, not like naive, but like the opposite of a city slicker, you know what I mean? And Noel's like in LA, raised, whatever, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I did too. It's a shame. Hopefully maybe one day it'll, even if they don't like have a podcast ever again, I would be fine with that. I more just want to see them like be in a video together, even if it's just like once a year. I would love that. But anyways, we're not here to talk about my love of Hunter and the fan fiction I'm writing about him and Noel, and Wendigoon having a threesome. Um, Although, if you guys want to hear about that, maybe I'll read that next time. But so, anyways, we're gonna get into there's a massive obese man with a giant shotgun at summer camp, part two. Yeah, yeah, Noel is a new dad, so probably not, probably not for a little while. But okay, so in part one of this story, we basically get this story of this counselor, and they're at a really religious summer camp, and the summer camp is basically like not just really religious, but you're getting the vibe that they're uh what's the word I'm looking for? They're zealots, they're like one step away from just being a cult, right? Like the only difference is that there are kids that are at a summer camp, but all the counselors and all the people in charge are like, if somebody is from a different religion, that means that they deserve to die and are going to hell. So it's just a really crazy dogmatic place. And then Stella, shut up. Sorry, she's meowing at the door. Sorry, I don't have time for kitties right now. But yeah, basically, our narrator is this counselor at this summer camp, and they get told that they're going to like the whatever, the cabin on the other side of the lake or something, and they're doing uh like a team building activity with their campers, with their group. And essentially this really fat guy shows up, and he essentially gives them this sermon that is all about how whatever, because the earth is full of sinners and the earth is their home and blah blah blah. Long story short, they should be able to like exterminate all the people who don't believe what they're believing. And you get the sense that this guy is some sort of like demon. Like he keeps whipping out like paperwork and things that give him the certification or whatever, and all the counselors who are watching over these kids are like, oh, this is really weird, like this guy shouldn't be telling this to these kids. Yeah, and he's like, no, look, the camp director said I could, and he pulls out this piece of paper that says exactly that. And it was an interesting touch on the story, but essentially the kids start wilding, kind of going crazy. They're super indoctrinated into what this dude is telling them, and they start this giant fire in which it appears that they are cooking one of the counselors, and our narrator runs away, and they're trying to call 911. And they actually do get through to somebody, but the 911 people are just kind of like, so someone's hurt. And yeah, essentially the part one at least ends with like these children, the camp counselor hiding in the house. These children have now got this giant shotgun that's now outlawed, but they had a model shotgun like up on the wall, and now that's gone missing. And even the one little shy camper is like fully whatever swept up in this dude's spell. And so it's an interesting beginning. I had some issues with it, at least reading through the first part, but I do want to finish it because I feel like the fact that I didn't read through to part two, it's like it was meant to just be taken as one full part, and because I cut it short, I feel like I kind of cut it out at the legs, and so I feel like that's not really fair. Had I known part two was this short, I would have just kept reading. But anyways, let's just get into it. So there is a massive obese man with a giant shotgun at my summer camp, part 2. Despite my general knowledge of where my cabin was, I ended up lost and stumbling along the forest, picking random directions and frantically following them. It was in one of these stumblings that I saw, through the encompassing branches and dense vegetation, the guide, tall and wide. The guide is the like demon-ish creature that showed up under the guise of a man. He looks like a man, but he's the one that was giving them this sermon about, the fact that they should exterminate everyone who doesn't agree with them, essentially. Through the encompassing branches and dense vegetation, the guide, tall and wide, standing straight as a board and punctuated with his sparsely haired dome. He seemed almost meager in his height compared to the long pole-like object he held upright alongside him. Another figure, this one facing him in their misplaced bravery, reprimanded him with an outstretched finger. "What the hell are you doing with that thing? Put it back now." The guide, with his long and meaty arms, effortlessly shouldered the shotgun, pointed its barrel inches away from her, and in just a small actuation of the trigger, it destroyed almost everything above her waist, her lower half spiraling through the air, tumbling away from the blast, and landing face down in the flowing grass. The flash illuminated his brimming grin, his eyes relishing through its yellow radiance before decaying back into a silhouette as dark as the encircling bark. At first I couldn't grasp what had happened, though as the red mist faded and I went from complete deafness to hearing only an ear-tearing ring, I understood the present danger and fell low to the ground. The guide, sure in the completeness of his task, turned and lumbered away, his shotgun swatting down tall branches in his wake. Though I couldn't hear much outside the piercing shrill in my ear, I felt his lonesome footsteps thump along the forest floor as soon as they became soft, distant, then non-existent. I crawled forward, spiky burrs clinging to my hands and arms whilst being dug in with crooked branches, a symphony of crashing sticks and leaves, making my approach in no way stealthy. All sounds I was too deaf and too frantic to pay much attention to. I crawled for much longer than I realistically needed, though eventually I met with these strange, jagged objects. Things torn from a sound body that now lay strewn about and emanate from an almost untouched waist and legs. I crawled low through cracked ribs that clung to torn, sleek muscles, and when I came nose first to what I assumed were blown out pulpy organs, I finally got to an uneven stance and peered downward at the disfigured remains. The most I could glean from what little I allowed myself to see of it were flowing pink intestines cascading out of her torn, almost serrated-looking wounds. A flowing cavity formed where the organs were once neatly placed, propped up only by a tent of muscles and the support of a cleanly snapped spine. Within this mess, something reflected on the ground. On the grassy floor was a leather wallet stained with blood and wide open to allow its contents to slip out beside it. Through the litter of IDs and indiscernible cards was a small flashlight attached to a ring of brass keys. Though it was rather small and only moderately breaking through the impervious thickness of night, It helped me enough to gather the correct path to my cabin and not topple myself over the winding roots of undergrowth. With what little strength I had left, I finally went through the wooden door of my shelter for hopefully the last time. Immediately upon stepping foot in, my foot buckled something, turning it into dozens of jagged shards. Its sudden crack alerting me to vigilance and causing me to inhale a deep breath of this particularly strong, planty, floral-like aroma. Despite the myriad of things I had seen or smelt tonight, this gave me a considerable pause, its strength causing me to kick the broken vial away. Upon a glance below, it seemed to once be a square-like container with a black cylinder top, the only discernible words being Dr. Honeylips Wormwood-Scented Perfume. Oh, okay, so now that's how they're tying wormwood into it. Okay. A horrid bang rang throughout the cabin, rattling the floorboards and threatening my stance to falter to the ground. A shot loud enough to make my lungs feel as though they would burst with its straining pressure. I scattered around the cabin, moving cabinets and furnishings to create ramshackle barricades across the door. The irritating scrape of wood on wood, unable to obscure the reverberations bounding across the lumber walls from such a appalling blast. I huddled myself underneath my woolen cot, hoping that this faulty attempt at stealth could protect me if he managed to crash through my brittle defenses. More and more blasts shook the cabin, incrementing with such prevalence and power that the wall hangings toppled from the nails, and even some of the furniture composing my makeshift barrier fell with each booming reverberation of his artillery-like breech loader. I snuggled my head between my crossed arms, my nose down on the cold splinterful floor, jolting to each of his thunderous beats. When the echoes of his shots faded to nothing, I began to hear the distant thuds of loathsome feet itching briskly, as if no care or worry in the world, to the front door of my cabin. His footsteps gave way to sharp, breaking creaks of his weight bent as his weight bent the oak board porch. So he's like superhumanly heavy too. Okay. With no effort and as if there were nothing between him and the door but air, his hand broke straight through the door and barricade, giving out plumes of wooden shrapnel and dust in its wake. His hand then searched in confusion for the doorknob, gripping and crushing the surrounding furnishings as quickly and as effortlessly as he had shattered through my bulwark. Frustrated in his lack of apparent lock, he simply pressed his weight against the wall and thrusted himself through the cabin. My attempts to prevent his entrance now lay scattered in jagged and snapped pieces across the floor, his newly formed door giving entry to the billowing nightmare air with its coarse howls providing this affair its disquieting ambiance. Immediately upon bursting in, he recoiled in disgust, giving deep retches as he pushed himself back. He groaned in abject repulsion, covering his nose and eyes with his plump right hand. He turned his wide body around in a crumpled posture, head turned aside and only periodically giving glances that searched the corners of my cabin. Moaning away from the entrance, his feet boomed distantly away, feet that were staggered and heavy with little in the way of hesitation. It seemed as though I was saved, as though the guide had left and gone far from my hiding place. It even seemed that he hadn't seen me through his inexplicable disgust. I was safe, no longer burdened by the death and horror I had witnessed. For the first time today, I felt safe. My feeling of security blinded me to two distinct clicks. My feeling of security blinded me to two distinct clicks to my right that appeared to quiet the ambiance. The entire right wall burst open, erupting in a thundering blast within an instant. Intense pressure billowing inwards with thousands of dagger-like shards of woods, shrapnel, both small and large as the blade of a Bowie knife, entrenched itself stochastically in every wall, corner, and crevice that lived in my once safe refuge. The splinters and debris so rampant in the placement that if someone were to walk in, they could easily confuse it for a nest of a beaver or some kind of a nest of a beaver on some kind of amphetamines. The wall was so wide and destroyed, it appeared as though it were the maw of a stalactite-riddled cave. When his roarish shot faded away, the outer reaches of the thicket, now distant enough for the nighttime ambiance to wash out any reminder it was made, I began to untense my body, sure that I was dead. His feet finally wandered off, thuds getting softer and softer until I could hear them no more. We've heard him walk off like 3 times now, I swear. In the distance, illuminated by the moon that sat touching the horizon and encircled by hundreds of blazing white stars, was the guide. His shotgun stood long and tall above him, puncturing the heavens, and as though he were with it the grand marshal of an old century military parade, with children marching single file behind him, striding in a troop with zeal and sureness in their new duty, marching. Then Ari, the last soldier in his parade, looked back at me and smiled, a comforting smile, staring on in content and pride, then turned to disappear under the moon along with the rest of the children. Luckily, my phone was still charged and unscathed from the attack. I called 911, and although I was able to clearly explain my situation and what danger I was in, when I responded to the question, "Where is your location?" with the Falwell camp facility, they would hang up before I could elaborate further. Oh, they would. Okay, they would hang up before I could elaborate further. I kept calling and calling back, but once I told them my location, they'd just hang up until they'd simply stop answering altogether. I called the police department, fire department, park service, and I would have called the FBI if I knew their number by heart. All of them hung up upon mentioning where I was. Eventually, I gave up. Someone had to come for me soon. With how horrid the burning smells and how loud his shots were, someone had to have noticed it and come for me, right? I think I'm done describing what my situation is. I'm peering out and I still can't see much daylight on the horizon. So I think I'm gonna have to stay here for some time. You shouldn't worry about me. I don't think he's gonna come back, at least. I have some battery left, about as much as I need to continue my typing and then some, so I'll leave you with this. I have the feeling this isn't the first time he's doing this, and if I'm correct, how many children has he left missing? Where else has he been? And where are the children now? Don't worry about me. I'll probably be fine. And good night. Interesting. So, a lot of this I already covered on the last stream, so I'm not going to go into it again. Just briefly, I want to say I do feel like it's a little overwritten in parts, and the emotion isn't quite there. Like, it's describing things that are happening, and, you know, it's describing the wood splinters exploding and the person's body getting completely exploded and disintegrated. And there's some of, like, I cringed in fear, or I hid, or, you know, there's some of that. But right now it just seems like our narrator is, and this wasn't all throughout the story. There was some more emotion in the beginning, but right when all this crazy stuff's happening, it doesn't feel like you know, the fear of the narrator isn't quite there. And I realize, you know, in the context of this story, they're supposed to be typing it all after the fact. But I think if they just made those parts if they just spent a little less time, like, providing, like, imagery and really specific, like, describing the wood shards, and instead was just like, a blast, you know, exploded to my right. I fell to the ground, you know, or what, you know, and kind of explain, like, how discombobulating this would be and all this stuff, to have this essentially this, like, shotgun that fires, because it explains it earlier in the story. It fires basically rounds that will, like, kill, like, every bird that's sitting, like, in front of it or something. So basically, you know, it's this crazy illegal shotgun, you know, and it seems like a little mechanic the way it's trying to describe everything perfectly, and there should be a little bit there should be a little bit more, like, emotion in those parts, and a little bit more, like, threat. The threat isn't quite there. Now, having said that, I think it's a cool premise. Like, I think the idea of this, like, creepy demon guide thing that comes in, and it's like a Pied Piper situation, right? Where it like, brainwashes all the kids and then leads them away and, like, starts an army with the kids. That is a cool idea. I like that idea. That is fun for horror. It's shocking. It's shocking to take something innocent and turn it into, like, your tool of destruction, you know what I mean? So that is cool. Like, so I don't want, like, my gripes with the story, especially in part 1 and stuff, I don't want the author to think that there's not merit here, because there is a lot, and they're clearly, like, a well-spoken writer, right? They can write. It's just there's parts where it's like a little too mechanic. But like this image of like and this is a part where the imagery makes sense, right? To describe this shotgun puncturing the heavens, and like an old century military parade with children marching single file behind him, like that, the imagery works really well, right? And the kind of, you can kind of get more wordy with those descriptions and stuff, but like when there's explosions going on in the cabin, like I think it should be a little bit shorter. It should be a little bit more like, the sentences should be shorter, and it should feel a little bit more like pop pop pop, stuff is happening. But that's just like my personal, interpretation of it. And I also feel like there's point where it talks about the shards of the exploding parts of the cabin, right? And I liked the metaphor or the like simile that they use, where they're like a beaver on amphetamines. I think that's the only description you need, but they describe the they describe up here dagger-like shards of wood, shrapnel, both small and large as a blade of a Bowie knife, entrenches itself stochastically in every wall, corner, and crevice that lived in my once safe refuge. So, it's explaining things in multiple different ways a lot of the time, and that is making it, feel almost like mechanic and overwritten, like I said. But I love a demon Pied Piper character, and I think it's cool. Another element of the story that's cool is the whole idea of like, instead of just a Pied Piper, playing a flute and leading the kids away, or like brainwashing the kids, I like the idea of like using their religion, because it explained how Ari was the kid who was like the most, I guess you could call it like stereotypically good, right? Like he had the anxiety attack at the beginning, and I thought all that stuff made sense, right? Because it like showed us that even this perfect, like really innocent kid who just really loved everyone and was crying because he was worried that like one of his favorite movie stars, who was like believed in a different religion, was not the same religion as them, was not a Christian or whatever. He had an anxiety attack because he was told that person was going to hell, or like deserved to die or whatever. And that like sent him spiraling. But then that same kid later is is just as brainwashed as everyone else. So I like the idea of, taking an innocent child and using them as the tool for your dogmatic, like, cult, whatever, horror monster, you know what I mean? Because the guy is a cult leader, but he's also this, he's like this supernatural being too. And I think that's cool as well. I think like the idea of having a cult leader that's like, okay, but what if he's not just a psycho or a sociopath who's like really good at manipulating, but he's actually like a supernatural deity? So it like makes sense that there would be a cult that like worships him or whatever. I find all those concepts very interesting, and if executed a little bit differently, I think they could have been, that much more entertaining and that much more captivating. But in that story, it also took us a while to get there. And the whole point of it is that he just takes the kids and he blows up the cabin and he kills a few of the other counselors, and then we don't really know what happens, right? That is just the story. but like we spent a long time before at the camp. We spent a long time just in his sermon, and then so by the time, like, I think the story could have lived more with he has the kids are his army, and the counselors are just trying to run and survive, right? And then you could have this fun thing where like the counselors, maybe are in a group of three, like three of them are trying to get out, they're trying to survive, and then they start, getting picked off one by one. And our narrator's the only one left at the end, right? Like that could be fun if the story got to that part sooner, but because it took us so long to get there, that by the end all we really had was a fire with one of the counselors cooking and a few explosions at the cabin, and another person shot and mineralized the top half of them mineralized by the shotgun, which, and all those are really shocking. It's terrifying to, we think of a shotgun as like, oh my god, it blew off someone's fingers or it blew off someone's arms. And it's cool to imagine just, this cartoon fucking style shotgun where it just blows off the whole upper half of someone's body. That's cartoonish and fun. I like that. But yeah, just I think it needs work, and I think the concept, you could do a lot with it, not even just in the context of this story, but I think that concept has a lot of interesting directions you could take it in. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this story. Not one of my top favorites, but I'm certainly not going to shit on it, or shit on it more than I already have. If the author feels like I've done that, I apologize. I never want to hurt anyone's feelings. I think you're a talented writer who got so caught up in like perfectly describing everything that you lost track of just getting your story out in a palatable, interesting way. I think you're probably like a very good technical writer, and sometimes that technicality, or whatever you want to call it, can kind of overtake you when maybe you should be focused more on like the plot and just the moments that you want to happen in the story, rather than the descriptions of how everything looks in these moments. Because that, I think that's another thing, that just as you write more, you learn better what people can just imagine, what people can visualize easily in their head, and what you don't need to describe, and then what you do. And I think that's different for different stories, right? Too, that changes from story to story. But I think as you keep writing, and I hope you do, I think you'll get a better sense for when to use those, like those skills for imagery and for descriptive writing that you have, because clearly you have it. It's just a matter of employing that effectively. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that story. But I am excited, or I am happy that I finished it. I just want to say, it's a great title. I think it's a great concept, and I think that just putting the story out there is really cool. But then also like having it be a two-parter. I know that's Reddit's fault. You didn't want to post it in two parts. But what I would do is just edit the story down to where it can fit all in one part. And then once you have that part, whatever, repost it, or, and I think you would have and with this title, and if right now it's on Creepcast submissions, if you posted this on Creepcast or whatever, maybe some other, like, obviously No Sleep's a shit show, but if you happen to be able to get it on there, it might do really well. I think people would be drawn to the title. I know I was, and I think with just some shrewd editing, I think you could have a really fun, just relatively short story. So anyways, all right, Creepin'. Now we are on to your story. How you doing, man? You still with us? I also want to say that I could just read your story, and then if you're around, if you're free, I could maybe just we could try to do a call while I'm streaming, and we could talk about the story once I read it if you're still here. But I know a lot of people don't watch my streams uh through. I know most people, if they do watch it, they might catch a part of it live, like a short, 5-10 minutes, but and then people watch it, they watch for the stories they're interested in on the VOD, and that's fine. I just, since you happen to be the only one in the chat, I was like, oh, okay. What's up, Discord? Yeah, since you're in the chat, I don't know if you wanted to, if you're busy, if you wanted to maybe do a Discord call after I read it, or even while I'm reading it, we could chat if you wanted to, but up to you. I don't know what you got going on. I won't be streaming for that much longer either, so like maybe it's not a good time. I got somewhere to go in like 2 or 3 hours, so we can figure it out. How's it hanging, Mask? It's hanging, it's droopy. It's falling off. I'll sound like toast. What up, rude dude? Hello. I don't know what that means. I'll sound like does that mean you're sick? I'll sound like toast. Is that I like toast personally, I think toast, I mean, it smells awesome. It sounds it doesn't sound bad. There are worse sounds in the world than toast. Like a toaster popping up and just grabbing that toast, that's yummy. You can, if you want to view laughs, you can read The Clap Man. Well, I'm certainly interested. Discord, message me, right? You're in the Creepcast Discord. Um uh yeah, send me a link just in a private message, and I will check it out. I don't think I'll do it on this stream, but from she. I'll down some meds and see how my voice sounds. All right. Well, anyway, since you're not home yet, I'll just get into the story, and then we can see what shakes out as time goes on here. Um, uh, Sucks being sick, bro. I feel ya. I was down in emergency the the first part of this week. I was like, I didn't want to get sick. I felt like I might be. I know it's that time of year, but then also I was like, it's probably just good to just try to supercharge my immune system for a little while anyway. So I was like, I might as well just do it. Sucks being sick. It sucks fucking, I don't know. I just hate anything to do with medical shit. I'm so beyond. I've just been having a lot of issues with my family and medical issues and people, and so it's like I'm just so beyond. Uh, I'm just apathetic. Like not about it. I feel bad for people who are sick and going through stuff, but in terms of the healthcare system, I'm just so hopeless and disheartened. So I'm about to tell you, like, oh, you're sick. I was about to be like, don't go to the doctor, whatever you do, you know. That's a horror story in and of itself, you know. People who don't live in the United States should just have to, just go fucking just deal with our healthcare system for about 30 minutes, and that's a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare on fucking whatever it is. Um, on Grey's Anatomy Street, right there. Eat the rich. Nom nom nom. I'll do it. That's the thing. I know that's a thing people say, but like metaphorically, but like I don't think they would taste bad, you know? Especially if we're just talking about eating people, I'd probably rather eat a rich person than a poor person. And that's not anything against poor people. It's just that I think, like, I don't know, the rich people might be kind of plasticky, though. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing. I wonder what a cannibal would say. Like, I wonder what a cannibal would. And it's the same with, like, you know, Americans and people. It's like if you're fat, you would think, like, if you get a fatty steak, like, that's not a good thing, right? But it probably depends, right? Somebody should ask Jeffrey Dahmer. He seemed to kind of eat poor people, though, for the most part. Like, disenfranchised, whatever. Anyways, interesting thoughts. Food for thought, literally. Get it? The Cry of the Fox. By No Boat, or our very own Professor Creepin here. But No Boat 9770. I am kind of curious why you chose the name No Boat Creepin, but maybe it was just a, random whatever user generated name. The Cry of the Fox. My family was a little bit strange. We owned a failing antique shop in my town for as long as I could remember. My father was quite eccentric. Yep, a story by the professor himself. My father was quite eccentric and collected various knickknacks and assorted artifacts. I saw them mostly as junk, and still had no idea how we were staying afloat money-wise. But I never bothered asking. But I never bothered asking. My mother was a quiet, soft-spoken woman who always had a look of sorrow. My father said she hadn't had the best past before we moved here. I was a senior at the time, getting ready to go off to college. The night was a very big night for me. I was going out with a girl I had liked since I was a freshman. Okay, and some other friends. Oh, and some of her friends. Sorry. Okay, that makes more sense. I hadn't really fit into that crowd, but over the summer, I had changed a lot physically and was apparently in some new league where women decided I was desirable. It was my it was my first Halloween actually leaving the house. I had never trick or treated when I was younger for various reasons, but I was excited that my parents had let me go out tonight. First Halloween out of the house. Shit. I heard the horn outside and quickly gave my parents a goodbye before exiting the shop and running out to meet my brand new friends. Margaret was in the back seat of the Jeep, and thankfully she had saved a space for me. I smiled at her as I hopped in and we gunned it out of there. I dived into a deep talk with her about her current classes and her shitty history teacher, Mr. Abbott. It wasn't until we passed a sign saying exiting Casey County that I realized how long we had been driving for. Where are we going? I asked curiously as we drove down the dark highway. Jonah, one of the guys in the front seat, turned around with a wry smile and answered, Winslow. Why the hell are we going there? The haunted Walmart. His voice trailed off and my blood ran cold. Everyone in town had heard the story of that place. It was an abandoned Walmart left to rot on the outskirts of the city. This is fun, and I like an abandoned Walmart story. That's super fun. Yeah, now we have, and I noticed that too, I was gonna say, and we have Margaret and Winslow, all very fun. You know, I'm catching a theme here. I also am mad because I did look at the comments to this, and I know, so I'll just say that I knew going into it that it was, somebody said like, nice Papa Meat fan fiction or like or something like that. So I know that there's gonna be, we're gonna get some crossover here. But I'm wondering if this is gonna be kind of an origin story. Like Margaret is gonna get, she's gonna be turned into an oven, and then we're gonna get, you know, Winslow becoming a computer, or no, Winslow's the name of the town, right? One of the, turn around with the and answered Winslow, and Winslow is okay. Interesting. But yeah, I'm wondering, you know, I'm wondering how this will shake out. Very fun though. You read the voice lines in Nick's voice, yeah. I can't really do a good Nick. This is kind of my Nick. It's I can maybe do. I'm trying to think which. Yeah, I can't. Probably not a good Winslow voice, but a Margaret like. Gee, I don't know, guys. I don't know, fellas. I've got big saggy boobs, and I'm an oven. That's my Margaret. A haunted Walmart, but I do like the idea, an abandoned or haunted store, like especially a superstore like that is very scary. I've been in a few like abandoned buildings that were like giant like office buildings or like warehouses, and it's always very creepy. So I could only imagine to have a store that like everyone's familiar, for the most part everyone's familiar of what a Walmart looks like, feels like. I've even had dreams, not scary dreams mind you, but like watching a lot of zombie movies as a kid and playing Dead Rising of like, what if I was stuck in a Walmart and there were zombies outside, you know. So I've even had that thought as like a kid of what, you know, like what it would be like to live in a Walmart, or that's, you know, the whole infinite IKEA SCP, like that to me like spoke to me too, as like, man, that would be fun to do. Like you have to be like a survivor that, you know, is in this giant store. And what I like the idea about being a store is like you have plenty of shit, right? It's not this like Walking Dead style world where it's like years after the apocalypse and all supplies are like dwindling and all you have is like a rusted, you know, gun or like a fucked up like metal pipe. And it's like I've always found that to be a very fun, you know, setting of like for a doomsday or for sort of apocalypse of like, yeah, what if you were just in the most, you know, badass whatever, like super stacked mall, you know, like a Dead Rising situation. Very fun. Yeah, and I was wondering that, creeping. I was like, they could just be Easter eggs for the story, but and I've done that too. Like, you know, with stories and stuff I've written in the past. It's like I've just used my friends' names just for me specifically, but you know, anyone else reading the story would be like, yeah, it's just a normal name. But for me, I know who it is. You know what I mean? And so it's just fun. It's fun for you as a writer to do stuff like that. I don't think people give that enough credit. Like how much fun it is to just put someone, you know, like, you know, whatever, say it's like somebody you don't like from work or something, and you know their first and last name, and you just put that in a story for yourself, and in that story, you know, something bad happens to that person, or they're just kind of an asshole in the story, you know. I think that can be very cathartic and fun as a writer. Everyone in town had heard the story of that place. It was an abandoned Walmart left to rot on the outskirts of the city. It was a real place, and I had heard ghost stories about it every year since I was a child. Every disappearance or tragedy had been blamed on the place. It was said to be bad luck. Yeah. Yeah, in a store, in a, you know, it's kind of why like Zombieland is so fun, right? It's because like things aren't really that dire. It's like they have cars, they have gasoline. It's like most everyone is already a zombie, so you just kind of play like zombie killing games, you know what I mean? um yeah, it's why Zombieland works, right? Yeah, and just, you know, like why Dead Rising was such a fun game. For me, one of the most fun parts about that game was just going and interacting with like everything in the store, or in the mall, right? It wasn't the killing zombies was awesome too, but it was like just going into the sports store and grabbing a basketball and be like, I'm gonna try to kill a zombie with a basketball. And you're doing like dude perfect trick shots where you're like trying to throw a basketball off the second floor level and hit a zombie on the ground floor, you know. And it's like the whole zombie kill of the week shit, you know. Yeah, very, very fun. Every disappearance or tragedy had been blamed on that place. It was said to be bad luck, but I chalked most of that up to silly small town superstition. Every small town had some dumb ghost story like it. I didn't like the idea of breaking and entering. I had been a rule follower my entire life, but then again, I didn't want to embarrass myself by seeming like a loser in front of Margaret and her friends. I mean, the place was old and abandoned. The worst that would happen is maybe a warning from the local PD. I figure we might spend a couple minutes max in the place. We arrived at the Walmart around 20 minutes later and found the place fenced off, with various construction equipment littering the area. I guess they were in the process of demolishing the place. We parked outside the fences and another car pulled alongside us. Together we made a group of 9. One of the boys from the other car pulled out wire cutters. His name was Newt. His name was Newt, if I remember correctly. He was larger than the rest of us and was easily able to shred through the fence with speed. Softly, I felt Margaret's hand enter mine, and I smiled like a big dumb idiot. We crossed the fence and made our way into Walmart. The place had allegedly been closed down for over a decade, and it looked that way. Promotional art from old video game collabs littered the front, and pricing stickers with prices that would be considered a steal aged the building far beyond the last 10 years. The front was a mess of appliances and machines piled into a heap that we had to squeeze our way through. The place stunk, the kind of stale, rotten smell that untouched buildings have, almost like bread that is left around much too long. Who knows the last time people had even been into this place? After passing through the heap of machines, we entered a relatively normal area. So I'm assuming these machines are like construction machines. I know our narrator said that it was fenced off and there was construction machines. But yeah, for a second I was like, wait, are there, like, I don't know, like, I was wondering, like, did somebody take, like, I guess maybe the word machine just kind of threw me off, because if I'm thinking construction stuff, I'm thinking, like, equipment. Like, you know, whatever, bulldozers and tractors and, you know, or whatever, not tractors, but, you know, the fucking Bob the Builder-esque stuff. We entered a relatively normal area. Cardboard and trash littered the ground, and clothes racks lay sideways. I was shocked at how dense the area still was. They hadn't even removed many of the products, and clearly looters hadn't stolen much. I watched as Newt dragged his girlfriend away, holding hands and smiling. Slowly the group separated into groups of 2 or 3, eventually leaving Margaret and I alone. We walked side by side through the old kids section and started a polite conversation. Okay, appliances. That's what I was wondering. I was like, does it mean like washing machines and TVs and, you know, all that stuff? But, cause yeah, now I'm wondering, cause if this was inside the Walmart, like you said, and then it got to a place of like more normal with like clothes racks and stuff, I'm almost wondering if, like all the technology is put up towards the front for some reason, you know, like, you know, I don't know, like maybe the monsters or whatever that are in there, they don't like the technology, or maybe it moves through like machines or stuff like that, so all the machines are unplugged and kind of kept separate from the rest of the store. I don't know. I'm just theorizing, and now that I know what the machines are like, you know, that it was talking about that, I'm a little more curious because I'm thinking about walking into a Walmart, right? It's like there's typically 2 entrances, sometimes one. You got the check stands right at the beginning, so that makes sense, like the whole machine things. There's whatever, there's registers, there's conveyor belts for groceries, there's self-checkouts, all that stuff. There's, the refrigerators for sodas and shit like that. So the whole machine thing made sense. I guess it was just the word kind of threw me off, so I wasn't sure if it was still talking about outside. But interesting. And it's also interesting. It's like looters hadn't stolen much. And clearly the stuff's aged, and it's like the clothes racks lay sideways. But I mean, that's gotta just be because when people do go into loot, they get like eaten or something. Presumably. No one ever steals anything because no one ever carries anything away. No one ever gets away. Yeah, interesting. But then you also got to wonder too, like before it closed down, like So is there food left in this plate? Like, I guess what I'm wondering is there just a monster in this place, or monsters plural, with nothing else? And that monster could be ethereal, it could be like a ghost, whatever. Or what I'm wondering is there a monster or creature or entity in here as well as a survivor? Like, are we gonna potentially find anyone who's like, I've been here for 12 years, you know what I mean? They're fucking in the back just eating like fucking pizza bagels and like, Twinkies and just shit that doesn't expire. They've got a stockpile of it. They're like, I've survived on nothing but Twinkies and Red Bull for I don't know how long, And I like that once the kids go in here, they immediately all split off because they're like, yeah, we're gonna go, do anal in the frozen food section, We're gonna go all the way, we're gonna go find one of the mattresses in the back, and we're gonna finally go all the way. I like it. It's realistic for high schoolers, especially like if it's a group of boys and girls like this. And then I also like that our character, because he's just getting to know Margaret, or he's just kind of starting to date her, and I like the idea that we walked side by side and started a polite conversation. It just goes to show that our narrators, it already said that he was kind of a nerdy kid or whatever, and now he's kind of in a new league. He's kind of hanging out with the cool kids. But it just goes to show that he's not a scumbag. He's not like, well, I gotta take advantage of this situation, which I like. So do you have any plans after high school? She asked me. Yeah, I'm heading to LA for an art degree. I never knew you were an artsy type, Hunter. I don't think you even knew I existed till this year, Margaret. Don't be silly. We were in the same English class as freshmen. I was shocked she even remembered that. And once again, a big dumb idiot smile fell on my face. Yeah, well, Mr. Clancy's class. You sat 2 rows ahead of me. Or is this the guy talking here? Or no, this is her. This is Margaret. You sat 2 rows ahead of me, remember? I thought you were always a little bit of a geek and raised your hand a little too fast, but it was cute. I will spare the details of the next few minutes, but I will say my first kiss was somewhat magical. The second one, a little bit sloppy though. The third had some tongue that I don't think I was ready for at the time. Oh, very, very true. Very funny. I like it. Very classic first kiss exchanged. And I like that it, although it explained it, it didn't explain it like step by step. And that makes it feel more real to me, because it feels like the narrator is like, hey, he's a classy guy, right? It already says that he likes her, he strikes up a conversation with her, blah blah. But then it also feels like the narrator's like, that's not the point of this story. And although my first kiss happened here, it's like he's gonna keep some details for himself, right? It's not the point of the story, so he's not gonna go, it's not gonna be book talk-esque where it's like, the heat from her lips tickled my nose and blah blah, you know, which I like. Again, I like that too. Very classy, and it fits the motif of the horror story when you're doing the whole teenager horror thing anyways, that it's like, well, yeah, there's a guy and a girl, and you know, the other people are already off fucking and sucking, but these kids, the ones that you're supposed to like, the main characters, these kids are the, you know, whatever, the responsible ones or the good one, you know. And so I like it. All right, now we're getting into the shit though. Suddenly, a loud scream rang out. My gut sank. I quickly turned in the direction of the noise. I looked to the right of me and yanked a splintered piece of plywood from one of the shelves. I then started slowly making my way in the direction of the sound. So did he yank the... I guess... Yeah, I don't know. Plywood just kind of confused. Because plywood, you can't... It doesn't really make like a weapon, but it seems like maybe that's what he did. Like he's arming himself essentially, you know, even if it's just, you know, maybe splintered piece of just wood. Because plywood, for a second I was like, oh, is he making like a shield, or is he grabbing like a fucking, essentially a club, you know? I then started slowly making my way in the direction of the sound. I abruptly stopped and looked at Margaret, who looked terrified. I couldn't endanger her like that. I instead started heading my way towards the exit. Margaret was frantically pulling out her phone, calling someone. Whoever it was, they answered right before we arrived at the heap of electronics. Yeah, it was already shattered. He just ripped it out. No, I get it. And it made sense, like, once I thought about it more. It just, for some reason, plywood made me think, like, you know, I think of, like, plywood as being a big board. And so I was like, oh, maybe he's, like, trying to grab... Yeah, maybe his mind didn't go to, like, I need to arm myself. Maybe it was, like, oh, we need to hide or we need to protect ourselves. You know what I mean? So, anyways, it doesn't matter. It made sense. It's just something that I was. I think different people have different like connotations of what a specific thing means, and so something like plywood, which can mean a lot of different things. You know, it isn't just like the press board stuff that I'm kind of thinking about. But when I thought of like, and yanked a splintered piece of plywood, I thought of like somebody going up to like a wall and like, and then they have like a full board in their hand. You know what I mean? Anyways, doesn't matter. Tandy and Newt are missing. Okay, so calling someone, whoever it was, they answered right before we arrived at the heap of electronics. Tandy and Newt are missing. We need to find everyone else. Yeah, okay, this is her, right? Yeah. Tandy and Newt are missing. We need to find everyone else and get out of here. Stefan is on his way back with Rick right now. It was a few minutes before the two boys had arrived. Both looked on edge, and one carried a tiny Swiss Army knife that looked about as lethal as a toothpick. Something was following us on our way here. So is this Rick talking, I think? Yeah, I think it is. Something was following us on our way here. We didn't get a good look at it. Rick was breathing heavily, bent over. We need to leave now. Have everyone come here and let's get out of here. We don't need to risk anything, I said. Hell no. We need to get the others and get out. I'm not leaving my sister behind. Stefan raised his Swiss Army knife, pointing back at the racks. I sighed deeply and looked back at Margaret. I needed to keep her safe, but Stefan was the one with the car and the keys. Fine. Rick goes outside to the cars with Margaret. Stefan, give him your keys. No one is touching my ride. I wonder if our author, and I'm gonna just pose this question because I don't necessarily want you to answer, Creepin, but is he giving him the name Stefan because he wants us to think he's a douchebag? I don't know. But I do think it's possible. Now, granted, is Stefan like a straight up douchey name? I don't know. To me, it kind of leans that way, but I don't know any Stefans. So maybe if you lived in a place with people named Stefan, you'd be like, no, it's pretty normal. But General, we got a general, a professor, and a rude dude, and a Discord. Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, and see, that was kind of the thing. I was like, I think it's just more foreign than it is, you know, I'm trying to think of the, like, American equivalent for just, like, a douchey name, you know. I don't know. I'd say a lot of people say that, like, Todd. A lot of people say that that's like whatever. It's like the male version of a Karen. Although my dad's name's Todd, so like I don't really see it that way. But or like I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of just like frat bro. I don't know. Anyways, we can make a list of the most douchiest male names later. Maybe that'd be a fun extreme. No one is touching my ride. If something happens to us, they need to get out of here and get help. They need those keys. Stefan looked as though he was weighing his options, but he slowly handed his keys to Rick. I turned to Margaret, squeezed her hand, and kissed her on the cheek. If we're not back in an hour, you call the cops and then get the hell out of here. No questions. Margaret nodded. She and Rick disappeared into the heap of machines. I turned back to Stefan and nodded as we made our way towards the aisles. He was fiddling with his phone as he walked slowly towards what used to be the freezer section. See, like I said, they were going into the frozen food section to do the hibbity-dibbity. Slowly toward the frozen, towards what used to be the freezer section. The deeper we went into the building, the darker it became, as the outside light couldn't reach this far. Stefan's phone flashlight lit up and he pointed it forward. We eventually found our way to a small number of the group who were huddled together in one of the aisles. One of the girls I recognized named Felicia. Hi, Felicia. Stepped out of the huddle as we came closer. We didn't find anything, but something was following us. We heard it and turned around. I know Tandy was here, Stefan. You guys need to get out of here and back to the cars. Take this and head back. I handed over my wooden weapon. I can't go. She's my best friend. Felicia looked at us defiantly. All of these people were willing to put their lives on the line for this missing girl, Tandy. 3 of us would be better than just 2, especially if there was something or someone following us. I looked at the rest of the group as I weighed my options. You can come with us. The rest of you need to go back and get to safety. We don't need anyone else getting hurt. If something happens, you yell loud. The 3 remaining people walked away in the direction of the entrance, and I turned to my 2 partners. We need to defend ourselves. We need something to defend ourselves with if something is following us. I'm assuming hunting supplies are down deeper in the store. We stay close and we make as little noise as possible. We don't know what's following us. Could be a homeless person or just a wild animal. It could be a homeless person or just a wild animal. Neither is ideal. We began making our way to the hunting supplies. The dim light from our phones was our only way of seeing. I heard noises periodically, almost like a chitter, a low humming, or a pitter-patter as well. We eventually made our way to an area that was slick with liquid. More than likely, there was a leak somewhere in the roof. We finally arrived at the hunting supplies and looked around for anything to help us. Eventually, I found a plastic-wrapped hatchet and quickly tore off the wrapping. I knew how shoddy Walmart's products were. I only hoped that it would hold up if something attacked me. I heard a crackle near me, and I turned to see the girl carrying what looked like a walking stick. Stefan had upgraded his Swiss Army knife to an actual hunting knife. We have 20 minutes to find them before we turn back and get the hell out. We need to hurry up. And a blood-curdling chorus of screams rang out far behind us. I charged forward. racing towards the sound. The screams only grew louder as we got closer. Eventually, we turned a corner down to where the freezers were, and we froze. Standing ahead of us, hunched over a bloody corpse, was a humanoid figure. Its back was toward us, and wet noises could be heard as its hands dug into the corpse's stomach. I could see ahead of the figure another body was laying, with the crying girl frantically shaking. Whoever it was, and crying. You don't need the crying. It's a double, I don't think you need it, in my opinion. Turn the hell around now, I shouted, raising my hatchet forward at whatever it was that hunched over the dead body. Damn, our narrator's kind of a badass, bro. Not only has he taken complete charge of this situation and, made a lot of smart decisions, but now he's just, directly gonna confront the thing, and he's, making... Which you could argue, that's stupid. He should just run up and... hit it, hatchet it, but I think also you can make the decision that with the one girl crying over another dead body and this thing eating someone, it's clearly people are hurt, so if he can kind of distract the thing and get it away, maybe those people can be saved. Yeah, you're good, Creepin'. I think I should just point it out, but it's also one of the things that's this is well written thus far, and it was really the only even typo that I could point out, and it's not even a typo technically. It's just you repeated it when you didn't necessarily need to, and I wanted to point it out because if you wanted to publish the story or what, I just think that that's the type of thing that at least you would want to know about, and then you can change it if you want to. If you read the sentence, you read it out loud, and you like the way it sounds, you could keep it. Whenever I mention a repeat of phrases like that, it almost never is oh, you definitely need to change this. It's always just it's just something I noticed. Maybe you want to think about it, Yeah, and I mean, that really goes for all my criticisms anyways, but there are definitely things where I'm oh, I think this is a typo, and so I'll kind of highlight it, or, I'll try to call, if the author's watching live, I'll try to call their attention to it, but yeah. Turn the hell around now, I shouted, raising my hatchet forward at whatever it was that was hunched over the dead body. I regretted my decision instantly. Whatever it was, it perked up. See, right here. So you have in the last sentence, I regretted my decision instantly. Whatever it was, it perked up instantly. Maybe you like that repetition. Maybe you're it's kind of a cheeky way to be I regretted it instantly, because instantly it shrieked and made it clear it was gonna tear my heart out, you know what I mean, sort of a thing. So maybe you like that, maybe you want that dichotomy in the sentence, you know what I mean. You want that this thing did this, I did this thing instantly, and then instantly it whooped my ass, or whatever, you want there to be that kind of a turn of phrase. Whatever it was, it perked up instantly, and I could see orange fur covering its back. What the hell was this thing? It turned around to face us slowly. It wore an ill-fitted shirt that exposed its stomach, and a pair of worn, tattered pajama pants. It also had some sort of button-up overshirt on as well, which was torn and bloodied. But that wasn't the worst part. Its face was an amalgamation of flesh and fur. Whatever it was, it had patches of what looked like fur-covered animal skin sewn to its face. It was disfigured, but it was unmistakably a fox's head. The flesh was discolored and rotting, and the only thing human left was two deep, dark eyes staring into us. It leaned down on all fours. And tried yelping, but all that came out was a gurgle. I quickly darted to the side to avoid whatever it was, but the girl beside me was not so lucky. The thing barreled into the girl and toppled her to the ground. I saw its fist pound into her face and heard the crack of her skull. I needed to get out of here and fast. I quickly yanked Stefan to his feet and ran forward past the first dead body and stopped near the girl who was on her knees over a badly injured boy. It was Tandy, and she was bawling her eyes out over who I assumed to be Newt. "We need to go now!" I yanked her forward, but she refused to listen. It is a sick creature, and I'm still trying to, because it said it tried yelping. It got down on all fours, it tried yelping. I quickly darted to the side. The thing barreled into the girl, toppled her to the ground. But then it says I saw its fist, so it is like, I do think it's a humanoid. So I'm like, is this just an insane, like, feral person who like lived in the Walmart for so long, and they killed the fox and they wore its face, or they found like a fox outfit, or, you know, like a Halloween costume, and they, you know, sort of a horror furry kind of idea. And I'm wondering, you know, is it supernatural? Is it entirely just an insane human? Which either way, right, for a bunch of like scared teenagers, I think both are equally scary. I just find it interesting that it's like, it has fists, but it's kind of this, it has this sewed on, fur covered fox head, and it says it's like sewed onto its skin, but it's discolored and rotting. But the eyes are human, it says. Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting, right? But I think that it's super, that it's fun, and it's kind of like out of the, because when you're thinking like a Walmart, right, you're thinking like, okay, yeah, like homeless people, whatever. But the fox kind of just gives it this uncanniness, this other level of uncanniness, to where it's like let's say it was this exact same story, but they were in a whatchamacallit, like a Cabela's, you know, or like a Bass Pro Shops, some like store that has a lot of like animal skins and fur. Then you'd be like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense, like it's an abandoned hunting store, and so maybe they had a fox head or a deer head or whatever, and some crazy person's just wearing it. Some crazy murderer just thought it looked creepy, and when they murder people inside the store, they like to wear it, you know? But because it's in a Walmart, you're like, it's uncanny, it's out of place in a good way, right? To where it makes us wonder, like, is this a creature who, maybe it's like a fox who, in the same, in the same way that like we think it's a man who kind of like maybe turned into a fox, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's a fox who, right, like the nature has sort of reclaimed this old Walmart, right? Like it was developed, it was fully in the realm of like humanity, and it was a store, but slowly it goes out of business and slowly nature starts to reclaim it, right? So what if a wild animal like went into the store, and then over time and because of whatever magical supernatural forces, it slowly starts to become more human to the point to where its head and its face are really the only things that are kind of left, but now it has fists, it has, you know, whatever legs, and it can walk on, you know, it's bipedal, it walks on 2 feet, stuff like that. I kind of like both ideas, you know what I mean? I think both are kind of cool, and I know Creepin said that there's a part 2, so I'm sure it goes more into it, but I kind of like, that's why I'm not reading ahead right now, is because I kind of like just thinking about it, right? I think it's fun, the not knowing, at least right now. I saw its fist pound into her face and heard the crack of her skull. I needed to get out of here and fast. I quickly yanked Stefan to his feet and ran forward past the first dead body and stopped near the girl who was on her knees at the knees over the badly injured boy. It was Tandy, and she was bawling her eyes out over who I assumed to be Newt. "We need to go now." I yanked her forward, but she refused to listen. I looked back over at the thing. I know I read some of this already, but okay. I looked back over at the thing. It was slowly getting up again from the girl's body. I saw her head. Her head looked like crushed watermelon. Blood and brain matter spilled everywhere. I didn't bother wasting my time, and I charged forward, leaving Tandy behind. I wasn't gonna get myself killed. Stefan didn't follow me, but I didn't care at that point. As I heard the sounds of the thing grunting and smacking its feet into the floor, charging at the trio, I heard the wet noises and pained screams as I left the scene. I didn't realize I was lost until I somehow found myself standing in front of a passage to the Walmart storage area. I pushed the door open, hoping I could find a back exit. While searching for said exit, I heard the door open and slam shut again. It was that thing. I knew it had found me. I quickly started climbing the large shelves to gain height on the creature. The shelves were massive and ascended high into the ceiling. I moved as quietly as I could, swearing the creature was following me. Finally, I reached the top and lay down to catch my breath. I heard something on the ground below and quickly looked down to see someone standing between the shelves. "Hello?" the person whispered. I quickly recognized. Oh, okay. I thought it was like our creepy creature, but. "Hello?" the person whispered. I quickly recognized it was Jonah, one of the people who was supposed to return to the cars. I turned over, hollering down, "I thought you were that thing. I was looking for a back exit." I began to slowly make my way back down, thankful that it was one of us. "No, I got separated after it attacked us on our way." I heard a loud thump and looked down to see the thing had smacked into Jonah and was now hunched over him. Fuck! I reached up to the shelves to once again ascend, but I lost my grip and leaned back. once again, but I lost my grip and leaned back. It was almost slow motion as I fell. It felt like ages as my limp body writhed in the air. I landed on my side with the sickening crack as I felt something painful snap in my arm. It was done, and I knew I was going to die. That thing would attack me after it was done with Jonah. I could hear Jonah's cries grow weaker and weaker by the second. As the sickening noise of guts being torn out filled my ears, I looked weakly to my side and tried forcing myself to my feet. I fell back down almost immediately. I was sure I had hurt my leg as well. I looked over and saw I had fallen close to a large bay door. A dusty button was right next to it. My heart fluttered with hope. I slowly crawled over to the door as I heard Jonah's cries go silent and the creature's yips and growls continued. Finally, I reached the door and used my arm to prop myself up. I couldn't reach the button, and I once again tried to get to my feet but collapsed again. I painfully dug into my side, my hands landing on the hatchet I had slid into my belt. I weakly lifted the weapon, and with as much strength as I could muster, I swung my arm in the air, smashing the dull side of the blade into the button. I heard a roar as the bay door began to open slowly. I was joyous as I turned over and slowly crawled out. I was free. My joy was short-lived as I was dragged backwards. I quickly rolled over, weakly kicking at the creature. It was over. The thing snarled, and this close I could smell the rot and musky odor it exuded. The fur it had sewn to its body was matted with both fresh blood and flecks of crusty, dried up blood. It had a hunger for humans. It had crudely sewn a snout to its nose. How could this thing breathe? I could see the inner human mouth of the creature, almost hidden by the rotting and loose teeth of the dead fox's jaw. Its flesh was yellowed and grayed at the sew marks. It had been done shoddily and had to be excruciatingly painful. Its hands clawed at me. Gnarled long nails matted with blood dug into me like talons. The creature's face dripped low into mine. I turned my face away. Its hot, disgusting breath caused me to dry heave. Then suddenly, the thing stopped. Its hands released me as the snout grew deeper into my neck. It was smelling me. I felt the tough, grating fur on my neck. Then it raised its head and stared into me. I saw a glimmer of something in its eyes as it stood and charged out of the building. It hadn't killed me. Why? My fading consciousness didn't give me enough time to formulate an answer. I awoke sometime later in the hospital bed. I saw my arm in a cast. My head was cloudy. My mother was the first to notice my eyes opening, and she quickly called the nurse. The nurse checked on me and spoke a few words to my mother before my parents both turned back to me. I saw my father's mouth moving, but I focused on only one thing. My mother was playing with a locket on her neck. I had seen it a million times before, and I had never bothered to ask about it. I felt myself slip away again, and when I woke up again, I was alone in a dark room. I looked down and saw something on my bedside. It was the locket. I had to look at it. I painfully reached out my arm and grabbed it. I delicately opened it, and my blood ran cold. Inside, there was a photo of my father, my pregnant mother, and a third person I had never seen before. Yet, he had dark black eyes. It was him. That thing in the Walmart was that boy. I turned the locket over and read the name on the back, John St. John. Fun. So John, there was a John mentioned earlier in the story, right? Am I crazy? Or because I know someone said John in the comments, we call it John. So maybe John, is that the first mention of John in the story? Is that the very end? I'll be quiet. The monster's really cool, right? And is the locket implying that that is like his older brother? Is that kind of what we're supposed to assume, right? That was like the child of theirs that like ran away or something, and so that is what the fox is. Um, but that's a fun twist, right? We got that like beginning mention of they sell the antiques, and there's kind of a sense that maybe there's some creepy stuff going on. He doesn't let them go out on Halloween. Um, but it's kind of just brushed over at the beginning. So I like that. I yeah, his brother. Okay, that he had no idea about, and that's fun, right? And I don't think it really needs to be hinted at more in the story, because then I think it just clues the reader in too much. That it's like you already say that the mom's like sad and that and stuff like that. So I think that works well. Like I like that twist that it's his brother. Um, the only thing I will maybe suggest is that so we don't know what happened with Margaret, but that's fine. We can learn about that in part two. Um, does that? She pounds at the door and then she runs away. But that's something, right? Like we can figure that out in part two. Uh, what I what I like is like I like the interactions. I like that our main character, he doesn't really know these people, so in some sense, like they're a new group of friends. So in some senses, it makes sense that like he doesn't know all the people he who come. But one thing I noticed throughout the story is I was like, damn, there was kind of a lot of people. Like I didn't realize that there were that many people with him. I know it said two cars pulled up, but maybe just like some mention at the beginning of the story, uh like so 10, like we 10 teenagers walked into the Walmart ready to get into some trouble or blah blah blah, like just some sense of like actually how many people are in their group. I also think the interactions about like why they want to go into the Walmart anyways, that could be fleshed out a little bit more, like maybe some sense that like, yeah, we're going to all go in there so we can all be alone with our girlfriends or blah blah blah, like just something about that to where like yes, it's creepy, and it's on Halloween. Um, okay, they made a group of 9. Okay, so yeah, maybe I just missed it. That's another thing. Is like you might have said, and I just didn't remember or missed it. But um, so yeah, and that makes sense. It wasn't something that I was like. It was just something that like when it was like they found this group of like 3 people in the frozen food section, and then later there's a body with a girl crying over, and so I just remember thinking at a certain point like, damn, there's more people than I thought were like in here. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Like I thought that there were like 6 people total, but it's like no, there was more, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, so like I think they could flesh out a little bit more about like just that conversation, just to give us a little bit more sense of, if not the other characters, just kind of like our main character and how he interacts with them. And maybe if it shows that he's kind of like uncomfortable with, not with Margaret, but with the other people in the beginning, then maybe that moment when he's like kind of stepping up and figuring shit out, like that'll be a little bit more like a cooler character development moment for like our main character. And then also the other thing I want to say is you have a really unique cool setting, right, in terms of this haunted Walmart, right? And I would just like more. So your pacing's really good, right? In terms of they get to the Walmart really fast. And I like that. Like I don't think you need to take a lot more time like describing, who everyone in the group and what they like and what their hobbies are. Like I'm not saying it should be like that, but just another couple of lines of dialogue I think might add a little bit more color at the beginning. Um but then once we get into the story, I think just even a few more sentences about like the decrepitness of this Walmart, and the machines are all piled up front, and then like you say the thing about the clothes aisles turned over, but like I'm still wondering, it's like cuz some of the shelves like in a Walmart are like bolted to the ground, but it says that there's a lot of the stuff hasn't been looted. So I'm like, is it on the shelves and is it just old and dusty? Or is most of the stuff kind of thrown off the shelves? And you know what I mean? I would just like, just here and there, maybe a few more lines of color. Because a haunted Walmart, a haunted, like, I love that setting. I think that setting is so rich and unique. And because we either have abandoned empty buildings, or we either have like a person's in a grocery store and all of a sudden a ghost goes into their mind and they see the ghost whatever hiding behind the rat. Like we've seen that sort of stuff in horror, but I like this kind of space in between of you have this haunted Walmart, but it's almost so haunted that like not a lot of people have been in there, like not a lot of shit has been fucked with. And so because of that, we still have like, are the shelves full? Are the shelves uh have stuff on it, but it's kind of sparse or knocked out of place? Is it like a Walmart that, a tornado ran through, so everything's just kind of messed about? Yeah, and I just think of a little bit more time kind of describing that, and like the machines piled up at the front, like what kind of machines are that? Just little things like that, little notes. will just help to paint a better picture. And then, when you have these moments of like, I got lost, like he gets lost when he's running, then it's going to make it that much more believable, right? Because if all the aisles are kind of like fucked up and everything, it totally makes sense that in the dark he could turn the wrong way and accidentally run towards the back of the store. There's no lights on in there. It's dark. We get that. Uh yeah, there are more stories. I have vague ideas of that I will flesh out. That will flesh out this Walmart, etc. Yeah, and again, like, it's a really strong setting, and it's a cool like monster and idea, and I like the idea that it's his abandoned, like, deranged brother. um and so it's like, obviously at some point I think we'll have to go back to the Walmart, so it's not even anything you have to do in this story. I just I think, just taking your time to really describe the setting a little bit more at time is only going to strengthen your story, and it's only going to, like, you're very good creeping, and I feel like enough of your stuff now to get to this, to like, you're very good at getting to, like, the plot points of the story, or like the, okay, well, I know that the shit is going to go down at the Walmart, so we need to get to the Walmart. And your story does that. And honestly, compared to some other stories that I read, it's like, that's kind of what I like the most about them, is like how quickly it does get there and the creepy shit starts happening. But at the same time, in your swiftness to get to that where the action is, I don't want you to I don't want you to feel like you can't take the time when you want to describe the cool, creepy ambiance. And I know you described it as they were walking in. I know it's like, you did describe it, so don't think that I didn't notice that. But I'm just saying, to if you take the time during those parts, yeah, it's only gonna make, when the wolf monster brother, when John finally shows up, it's only going to make it that much creepier. And when he gets stuck in the back of the store and he's climbing the racks, like, all that stuff's just going to be more vivid in your reader's mind. Like, and then that was one thing I was wondering too, is like, is the back of the store completely untouched? Like, it says that the shelves were full, or whatever. It mentioned something about, like, he's climbing up the shelves. Um, and that was one thing I was curious about too. I was like, oh, so is that part, completely kind of untouched? But yeah, anyways, it's something that you're gonna, yeah, that you can flesh out more in the sequels and in whatever parts of the story. um but yeah, just don't, especially like you took your time with John, or with the fox creature, right? Like, that was very clear, and we saw the fur and the stitching to the skin, and the decaying, and kind of all that stuff. And yeah, and so it's like, you do it well when you do it. So I guess maybe because I love the setting of the Walmart so much, I just wanted, that part to be a little more, whatever, fleshed out, or a little bit more like, you know and it could be something that you do, like, with an interaction, like, maybe Margaret and your main character, like, interact with something in the store, right? Like, maybe they're trying on like some of the clothes as they're walking through it or something, and it just gives you a little bit more of a chance to describe like, oh, these old out of style clothes on these mannequins. I threw a jacket on and asked, whatever, how I looked, and she giggled and blah blah blah, and it could just be a moment where you're describing the setting, but your characters are interacting in it, and it just makes it come to life that much more. But very fun story, very cool creature, probably one of the most like simple yet interesting creatures that I've seen in a while. And yeah, I mean, I like that. Ultimately, I like that it's his brother, because now he's conflicted, right? His brother just killed fucking all of his friends, practically. You know what I mean? Maybe even his girlfriend too. We don't know, and so that's pretty brutal, right? Like that's pretty fun. I like that. Yeah, and yeah, I just want to give you a little suggestions. Like I said, not not by any means any orders or any like you should totally do this, but just because, yeah, I love a haunted Walmart, bro. This is making my, like, I mean, you heard me at the beginning of the story. My mind was running wild with zombies and all sorts of stuff. So I just think I just think it's awesome, and I think it's a very smart, like, just something that isn't done a lot. Like, as popular as Walmarts are, how common we see them everywhere, it's like I said, it's almost never in a horror movie or in a horror story that it's a Walmart. The only time we ever see that in a movie is when like somebody is being tortured by a ghost, and they're like at the store and they see an apple and it turns black in their hands or whatever, and that's because that's showing that the ghost is fucking with them mentally. Like that's all we really see. But I love the idea of a haunted Walmart. I'm here for it. I read likey. But yeah, so great job, man. Cool story. I'm curious about like the sequels and stuff, like you said. I'm wondering if this is gonna be like a multi part, or if it's just gonna be if it's just gonna have like one or two or three parts. But that's fun. Very fun. Yeah. Take it any way you like. Do with it what you will. It is my gift to you. As your story is a gift to me, it is my gift that I give to you with no expectations. But yeah, that was super fun. And then this next one is just a really short, but I love the title. I summoned, the succubus I summoned is defective. It's a super short. It's from VerdantVoidling. We're going to get into it in a second here, but I am going to use the restroom, so I will be right back. You guys can learn about Mormon wives.
Like, the thing about Layla that I like is that she does nothing. She just stares like this. And to me, that's funny. Michaela's skin grosses me out. Also, she's kind of just being a bit more snooty this time and giving a bit more attitude. I'm like, why don't you smile more, princess? You'd be way prettier. But the Chippendale dancers come down, and it's really awkward. The Chippendale dancers, being Brett and the other Twinkie gay guy, Jordan, come down, and it's really awkward, and they grind on Jen, and Zach is obviously pissed, as kind of anybody would in this situation. And the other girls start making fun of Zach because he's so upset about it. They're like, oh my god, look, he looks so mad.
No shit.
Yeah, no, duh.
This is supposed to be exposure therapy.
Whatever. But on to Halloween night, Michaela is at her sister's house making stupid mom talk videos and talking shit about Miranda. Also, all these girls are in their mid-20s to early 30s to late 60s to late 80s. Not sure. They're all old, and it would be something where it almost feels like a show about 16-year-olds, because with the attention span that they have of a TikTok audience, and just because everybody looks the exact same besides Layla. They have to put their name and age up every time. Every time it cuts to them, you will see their name and age. It surprises me every time when someone's like, yeah, they're 32. You're like,
yeah, they look.
What? Well, also, they all look, I'm like 38 to 45. Too tan. Too tan, too much
fillers.
makeup, fillers. It's just like...
Oh, yeah, the sugar.
And the sugar swing, bray. Zach and Jen are talking about the Chippendales incident on Halloween, and Jen says she knew about it and didn't think they were actually going to do it. Then Jen is worried about how she's feeling and doesn't see why Zach is pissed off. She's as blind as a goddamn bat.
No!
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I shouldn't have moved old Lizard back off the fucking part there, but you know, I feel bad. I feel bad, so she's back. Zach walks off camera because he doesn't want things to be turned around on him again because Jen has her crazy friends. He's like, can we stop for a second? Can we just stop? After that, it cuts to Whitney giving birth to her new baby boy. The entire camera crew is invited, and her husband just stares right at her vagina while the baby's coming out.
Alrighty. Let's learn about the succubus I summoned is defective. Very, very fun title. Very. It says that this story is, you know, a horror comedy, which I like. I'm looking to do more just funny stuff or funny horror stuff. Because yeah, I mean, it's what I'm interested in. It's one of my favorite parts about Creepcast is the comedy elements of it. And I know for me, one of the things that like I struggle with, like I love to stream, I love to give feedback, but I don't like when I'm just beat over the head with heartbreaking horror stories. You know what I mean? Like that can get a little bit, not even tiresome, I'd say, but more like emotionally draining, you know? And so, yeah, I want to mix it up with these more fun stories. And Voidling, I guess I'll just call him, he has a list of stories here, and it looks like he's got a few of like maybe in the more funny or like experimental side of horror, like and he's got these nice little excerpts about what each story is about. An old man wakes to find a new presence in his apartment. Young woman as she navigates the fallout from the death of a great spirit. This was the other one that made me laugh. Our father kept a second family in the pipes. Family finds itself ripped apart in the wake of a mother's death. So yeah, some interesting titles here, and he's clearly written quite a few stories, and I think that that's, you know, awesome. And so yeah, we're gonna check this one out, and then you know, we'll see. We'll go from there, but 3 parts. Okay, here, let me read this. The last 2 are called The Suffering of the Fox and The Demise of the Fox. Interesting. Nice 3-part. Well, that's cool. Maybe, you know, I'll have to check out. I don't know if the other 2 parts are posted yet, but if not, when they are posted, I'll have to check them out. But yeah, let's get into the story now. Hi. I don't know where to ask about this. Does anybody have any personal experience with succubi? I love the what is it, the plural? Nice, cool. Well, I look forward to checking it out. I love the call for help and the does anyone have any personal experience with succubi? I recently managed to summon one after years of trying, but it's not really what I expected. I mean, the idea that you would summon, it's not like a demon girlfriend. I mean, I guess maybe that's what he was hoping it would be, but like a succubi is meant to like suck out your soul or like kill you, right? Like, so the whole point of somebody trying to, like a guy, I'm assuming, trying to summon one is just so ridiculous. I love it. It's like, I wanted her to suck out my soul, but like, you know, really, she just like goes shopping and eats all my Pop-Tarts, and I'm really not liking that. The first sign that something was off was that she didn't show up immediately like the wiki said they do. Everything I've read on the subject says that the succubus should appear as soon as you draw the blade across the throat of your sacrifice. Mine didn't appear for about a week after I completed the ritual, and when she did finally show up, she was digging through a dumpster behind a Burger King. So is it just a homeless woman? Digging through a dumpster behind a Burger King, and no, it's not just some homeless lady. That was my first thought too, until she turned my way. Her eyes were oval shaped and as black as fresh asphalt. Her skin was perfectly smooth, but sagged off her like loose clothing. When she saw me, she walked right over and climbed into my truck. I wanted to make a good first impression, so I said, "You must be my friend from the land down under." She replied with a flat, "Yes," and I felt my face flush with embarrassment. That was most definitely not a good first impression. When I got her home, I was eager to take her for a test run, but she kept scurrying away when I moved to get closer. It sounded like she was laughing, so I figured it was a game. I found out when I caught her and she bit me that it was not a game. Now I can't get her out of my house. Yeah, bro, she's the succubus. What did you think? You were just gonna summon... You were gonna summon a demon that's supposed to suck out your soul, and you thought she would just be like, you know, a sex robot? Like, no. I was careful to keep my distance for the first few days. I figured maybe she needed time to adjust. We got comfortable enough with one another that we were sitting on the couch. It's my fault what happened next, really. I was overeager and pushed her boundaries too much when I tried to hold her hand. So when she took my finger, I couldn't be too upset, especially considering that she still had the knife in her hand. Hell must have very different courtship rituals to us. The only thing that cheered her up was getting her some chalk. She kept drawing little patterns comprised of tiny pentagrams. So cute. She even said another word. As she excitedly pointed at her drawing, she said, "Home." I knew she was telling me that she felt at home in my apartment, and it warmed my heart to no end. She still hadn't warmed up enough to allow me to touch her, though. She would leap 2 feet in the air and scramble away on all fours anytime I got close to making contact. I wake up sore all over every morning, so the succubus is definitely draining me of energy. I just can't get her to actually touch me. Beyond the lack of any intimacy, I've been experiencing gaps in times. The longest was 5 hours. I've also been finding strange lumps in my body since she's been here. I'm very concerned as none of this was described on the wiki. He keeps referring to the wiki as fucking such a nice touch. To add to the frustration of it all, she stinks like expired eggs, and her skin is falling off. I don't like the green scaly stuff underneath either. It looks weird and slimy. She keeps eating raw meat from my fridge. I have yet to get a complete sentence out of her. I can't help but feel cheated. I have tried several banishing rituals, but it's like she doesn't even care. Can anybody help me out? Does the devil do refunds? I think I'd like my wife back. I knew it. I was like, who did he sacrifice to get this thing? Yeah, obviously she wants to go home. I was gonna say, is she trying to take him to hell? Is that what a succubus does? Do they not? I guess they maybe take your soul, but I didn't know if it's like they take your soul to hell or they like consume your soul, kind of a thing. I just like the idea of, because we get this, right, where people like post like, am I the asshole, or stuff like that, and it's just something where clearly they're the asshole or clearly they're in the wrong. So it's very believable to me that somebody would be like, the succubus isn't quite what I bargained for. Does anybody know how to get rid of it, you know? It's like the whole guy, like, the reason that it works, especially in this day and age, is because as people become more, like, I don't know, reliant on the internet and more comfortable with sharing on the internet, it's like, it's like almost like they become tone deaf and they think that, like, sharing the most embarrassing shit is like, well, I'm just being vulnerable and like it's a good thing. And it's like, it reminds me of the guy who asked ChatGPT or whatever to marry him, and that whole news expose about it like is just so cringy and so hard to watch, like from start to finish, where he's like, and then her memory got, after 5 months, I reached the chat limit and her memory got reset. And when I say I cried for 5 hours, you know, like at work, and it's just each sentence just keeps getting worse. And then you figure out at the end of that news thing that he's like, oh yeah, and I asked her to marry me just as an experiment, even though I was already talking to her and telling her I love her and whatever else. And she said yes. And then you figure out that he has a wife and kids already. And you're like, oh my fucking God. And it's just so embarrassing and such secondhand cringe and embarrassment that, you know, if stuff like that is a news article and is apparently happening, more and more people falling in love with AI and ChatGPT and stuff, you know, it's not even far-fetched to, you know, if someone was able to summon a demon or summon a if we lived in a world where that was even, let's say for every summoning ritual that was done, where that even worked 1% of the time, you summoned a succubus, or you summoned just any type of demon, any type of ghost, any type of anything. And that happened 1% of the time out of the 100, rituals that were done. And the other times it didn't summon anything. But 1% of the time it summoned something. You know that enough people would do it in our crazy ass world that eventually someone would be like, yeah, I summoned the demon and for some reason it won't fuck me, and I was really hoping that it would, and I'm just wondering if anyone has any advice on like how I get it to put out, It's so crazy. It's so dumb, but I really like this story. I think it's charming in the sense that it's just a dude asking for help online, but then he's such a doofus slash dirtbag. I mean, he killed his wife, so it's like he's such a doofus slash dirtbag, and it's almost impossible to be both of those things at the same time. But somehow this narrator, this person, does that. That it's just a lot of fun, and it was the whole idea of like, I didn't think a creepypasta could have such like school, I don't even know if I can say that, such whatever Columbine-esque kid, meaning the kids who perpetrated the massacre at Columbine. Like, I didn't think a creepypasta could have as much energy like that Jeff the Killer did. And like, Jeff the Killer was like crazy and did it first and did it but then they read on Creepcast, they read The Hooded Man, and I was like, oh my god, this is like even worse, or just as much that sort of energy. And so yeah, it's just like every time I think a creepypasta can't, or just, one of these funny horror stories, it can't reach this new level of, this guy is equally like, as dumb as he is like premeditated evil, you know what I mean? And that's a very hard, like, it's hard to be so stupid but also so evil, like diabolically evil. He's diabolically evil while detrimentally stupid, and I think that's a very fun tightrope to walk for just a really short micro comedy horror. I think that's really fun. I definitely am gonna have to check out some of VerdantVoidling, some of his other stuff, because this was a lot of fun. This is good. I'd like to read one of the more serious ones from him, and then if he's got any other funny ones, I definitely want to check them out too. And I know that this is the type of story that like seems to do at least better on the Creepcast subreddit. But I would like I remember Rude Dude, wasn't it No Strings Attached, if you're still here, in No Strings Attached, that character wasn't evil, but I liked the I like this whole dumb narrator, and I like, and I think it works for a short story like this, but I think it works even in a longer format. And so yeah, I just, I'm here for it. Give me more of the doofus, whatever. guy online trying to figure out if his new girlfriend is a monster. The guy who needs dating advice because his Russian, mail order bribe is trying to steal his kidney, sort of a thing. Like, that to me is awesome, and it's so perfect for like what creepypasta is, to me at least. I love the idea of a guy being like, so after 10 years and $300,000, I'm finally meeting my wife. And then like slowly he's just doing these journal entries of being like, Oksana's great. Sure, she's about 15 years older than I expected, but I was so happy when she finally, that she was finally coming to America. Of course, she wanted to meet me in Vegas. She didn't want to meet, we wanted to go on our honeymoon finally. We're finally together, And it's like, we met in a hotel room, and she was there. It was great to see her, and we had a drink, and I immediately fell asleep. And then I woke up, and my kidney like was gone. And like, I don't know, just shit like that I think would be so funny. And then the whole thing is that like Oksana, because the guy still loves her, and she realizes that she can get his other kidney, like she can literally take every single organ out of this guy before he will ever admit that like, oh, she doesn't actually love me and this isn't my real wife, sort of a thing. Like, I love that type of that naivete is just chef's kiss for comedy, but then like, and obviously the horror elements too, but then I also think we should do like, you could add in a lot of other funny, like Russian mafia, or like just other, other funny elements of that, where he like, Oksana got kidnapped by a drug dealer, like, we gotta save her. Just ridiculous shit that could happen that I would, I would love. And the whole I don't know, charming idiot thing, I think is something that, like, I mean, so many movies and stuff, Dumb and Dumber, so much of my favorite, like, or that was such a common, whatever, comedy trope for a long time, or comedy character. But I say bring it back, because maybe it's just not so much anymore, or it's, maybe it's just because comedy movies are just entirely, I mean, Hollywood's just almost abandoned them altogether, so we just haven't seen it as much. So I'm desperate for that sort of like whatever, useful, charming idiot you know stereotype in stories. I love it. This was great. Thank you, VerdantVoidling. Thank you, everyone, really. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I think that's going to do it for me. I got to get out of here. I got to skedaddle. And yeah, I'll thank you for everybody for tuning in, and send me your stories if you want me to check them out on the next stream. I will be back maybe sometime this weekend. If not, probably next week or weekend sometime. We'll see. Ooh. Whoa. What the fuck? Did my stream just stop? Oh, no. Okay. Jesus, that scared me. Sorry, I couldn't see my mic volume going. But anyways, thank you, everybody. See ya.